How's it going, Ruction Nation? Today we're doing our 30th episode. It is the Behind the Hard Hat with Cody and Nick. We posted 3 questions on our Instagram, and we're going to go over the responses that we received for the 3 questions. So to kick things off, the first question was, what's one thing about the construction industry that needs to change?
Got a response from the blonde welder who was our guest on episode 16. If you want to check that one out, she's an industrial welder from Canada. Very interesting episode. Her answer to the question, what's one thing about the construction industry that needs to change? She said wages and treatment of women and treatment of young apprentices.
Yeah, I know that we kind of hit the surface level during her episode with that question, and I know it's a question that's popped up a few times through different episodes and in conversation. I guess what's your initial thoughts, Nick?
I mean, I would definitely agree with her answer. I don't know the exact disparity, if you want to call it that, between wages between men and women in the construction industry specifically. But I do know that there are a lot more women joining the trades. I'd say over the last 5 years, I've probably seen, I don't know, 500% increase in women on site. So yeah, it's a valid thing to talk about and kind of go down the rabbit hole of treatment of women. I mean, that's just ridiculous that even has to be brought up.
Great.
I would say treatment of anyone on site because it women specifically, that's a whole thing, but just treat other people with respect. I mean, we're all there to do a job. Personal attacks, disrespect. There's really just no place for that on the job site, and yeah, you see it from time to time, and it's just you kind of get disappointed in humanity when you see that happen in real time. It's just kind of unbelievable too. But yeah, I would say that's a very good answer, and yeah, I hope wages and treatment of women and young people can improve over time. It's definitely something that needs to change if it's a problem.
What's I was trying to think about this. What would you specifically do to go out of your way to make sure that both women and young apprentices are treated with the respect that they're deserved, or that they deserve?
Personally, I just wouldn't change how I treat a young person or a woman because I expect myself to treat everyone with dignity and respect on site. So I wouldn't really change anything. I feel like if you're going to cater towards someone just because of who they are or what gender they are or whatever, I feel like that's not right either, you know. Should be the same across the board. Comes to, we have a bunch of different races on site too, a lot of Hispanic workers on site. I wouldn't treat them any differently than I'd treat, a white guy.
Mhm.
But yeah, I don't think there's anything specifically that I would do differently.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. Everyone is going there with a common goal, to get a job done and to get paid to be able to provide for themselves or their family. So I agree. The approach shouldn't be different. But I guess, how do we get those rotten apples out of the industry? How do we make it so that it's a cultural thing that everyone is accepted and not them,
I think it just comes down to holding people accountable. If you see someone being mistreated, stand up for that person,
Yeah.
um, and shut it down, be the bigger person and step in and at least try to separate the two, if something's going south, send them both different directions for a little bit and then have some side conversations, see, is this a, you know, common occurrence? Like, is this a problem? Was this a one-time thing? Did you instigate anything? Like get all the facts before you crucify someone, but um I don't know. There's just no room for it.
Yeah.
So holding everyone accountable, I think, is the only way, and it's not going to come from the CEOs. It's not going to come from um, the top level people. It's the people on site that see it every day, and can actually make a difference in the day to day.
Yeah, I 100% agree with that. Thank you to the bond welder for submitting your response, and I hope multiple people hear this and they agree and they have something to add to, and they share a comment, or somehow a community is established where people can talk openly about it, pros and cons, how to approach different things, and hopefully that starts the conversation or sparks a discussion somewhere. Um, along with that, we've got two more people that submitted questions along or with the same question or for the same question. Tyler, who's an equipment operator, he said, "This is more of a question, but why does everyone point fingers instead of solving problems? How do you build a culture where people own mistakes?"
I think it's this is truly two different things, right? The first portion, people pointing fingers instead of solving problems. Pointing a finger is way easier than solving a problem. It takes way more effort from any individual to figure something out. I'm trying to think of an example. I have so many.
You want to share three of them?
um, I don't. Let me think about it. A lot of them. I don't want it to be too fresh.
Sure. Yeah, that's fair.
But you know what I mean. It's way easier to point the blame at someone instead of really diagnosing a situation and chasing the solution all the way to the end. It's you're pushing the problem onto someone else at that point.
Sure. When I first read this question from Tyler, my initial reaction was, is it due to lack of experience where you're pointing fingers, or is it because we are so conditioned these days to be like we just want to be comfortable all the time. So kicking the can down the road allows you to feel some sort of instant gratification, or it allows you to feel good in that moment, not thinking about what it's going to do to you however long down the road, or whenever you have to see that problem again. That's that's what I heard, or when he was asking this question. I was like, well, it's got to be experience, and it's got to be people not wanting to feel uncomfortable.
Yeah, it's kind of instant gratification if it all of a sudden is off your plate and now it's that guy's problem.
Yeah,
You
it's
know?
we all work on teams, and it 100% is easy to just be like, I don't know, Joe should have just, I don't know, I couldn't do it because Joe did that, which
Right.
is, does you and Joe no value,
The second portion of this question: how do you build a culture where people own their mistakes? Uh, I think you have to take you. You can't crucify people for mistakes, or
Mm,
else they're just gonna avoid them. They're gonna dodge them. They're gonna hide them. They're gonna hand it off to someone else. Make it not their problem anymore. Um, I think the way to change that is to is to just understand that mistakes are going to happen, right? Mistakes are going to happen. Um, that's the whole reason why we're there,
Mm,
is to solve problems in a management role. So it's like my kids, right? If they make a mistake and I just freak out, they're never gonna they're gonna hide those mistakes moving forward,
100%.
right?
Yeah.
But if we can sit down, calmly talk about it, discuss solutions, and not it's rarely ever, one guy's fault, right? It's always like a chain of events um that lead to something. So just because it's, this guy dealing with a mistake doesn't mean that he's solely responsible for the mistake. You got to make it a team. It's a team problem. It's a team mistake,
Yeah.
right?
100%.
Now that person can own the solution. I don't think they necessarily need to own the mistake as like you are a shitty construction worker,
Yeah.
you know, shame on you. It's all right, something's messed up. Who's going to run this to the end?
Mhm.
Take it. And if you get stuck, loop everyone else in.
Yeah. It's that taking ownership, having pride in your work. I know you've heard me say this, but like you just said it at the beginning, actually. You said you can't crucify somebody for mistakes. Shit's going to happen. It's inevitable. And there's too many things that happen on a job site. We can't catch all the little things if everyone's afraid to tell anyone, you know. It's leading by example. And it's kind of interesting that even the question from the blonde welder, the question from Tyler thus far, it's all just leading by example to create the culture that everyone deserves to work in. So,
Yeah, and if you do make a genuine mistake, like I don't know, you didn't flag something off and you dropped a 2x4 off the building and it almost hit someone, just own it. Like mistakes happen. We're, people aren't perfect. We're not robots. Uh, learn from it. You got to learn from it. That's the main thing.
mm,
The mistakes are going to happen no matter what. Just don't do it again.
right.
You know, I want to flip to the back. I want to flip to the back of this list of questions we have. Um, and we'll get to this later. But yeah, Nick, a framing superintendent who was or way early on, I think episode 5 or 6 or something like
It was
that.
early.
Yeah, he said, "Don't make the same mistake twice, and you'll go far in this world." You know, that is um, a resounding statement that we get on this podcast, and I think people can go far. You can go far. Just learn from your mistakes, correct your mistakes, and take that knowledge forward with you.
Yeah, I mean, for me, a lot of the reasons that I'm able to see things out in the field is because something happened during an inspection or something happened leading up to that inspection, and it was all a learned thing. So, oh, well, I forgot to do X, Y, and Z, or I got dinged for whatever it was. I won't do that again. And I think that resonates with a lot of people that are in management, just in construction. It's their experiences based on mistakes, you know?
Mhm. Yep.
I'd say 90% of their experience is made on mistakes, whether they made it or they saw someone else make it.
Well, that also leads to advice for young people. That's how you grow. That's how you learn. You have to make mistakes, unfortunately, and it is as shitty as it is during the time when you make the mistake. Just know that you're growing. You're 10 years from now. Some kid that's 10 years younger than you is going to be uh, in the same situation, and you're going to have some of that knowledge you'll remember, and be able to look back and hopefully help that guy avoid the mistake.
Yeah.
Um, but you have to make mistakes, and you have to almost put yourself in positions where you can achieve that growth. If you're comfortable all the time, like Cody was saying earlier, um, there is no growth. You have to be uncomfortable. You have to go through the stress of fixing, something that's gone terribly sideways. And you do that enough times, and you can really see it in if you have two people next to each other, one's inexperienced, one's experienced, and something happens on site. Um, Something bad happens on site, moderately bad, let's say. The inexperienced guy is going to freak out, like hands in the air, like, what are we gonna do? Running around. The experienced guy will most likely be cool, calm, collected because he or she's gone through so many of these scenarios where um, it's not the end of the world. You'll figure it out. You just gotta stop, catch your breath, assess the situation, um, and take it slow, not make a knee jerk reaction um, to the situation that puts you in a worse spot than you were in.
So we've had multiple people who have talked about their experience, things that have happened on site, and two guys that I want to shout out. Ryan Canoodle, I don't know what episode we had you on, but you talked about a moment of chaos that you had on a job site, and I applauded you for how calm, cool, collected you were, and how you were able to drive a room even in a very very like a very stressful situation. And then Bobby, who we had on as well, he expressed and shared some stressful situations that he was in, and he also his experience just took on the entire room because he knew and he approached this situation with a calm, cool, collected attitude. And in doing that, both parties mentioned they were able to see everything in real time and they were able to move and adjust. So, to the point of having advice for a young guy or even a guy that's been doing it for a long time, slow is fast.
If I remember right, those were almost the exact same
Yep,
issues too.
they were. Yeah, it all had to do with
water leaks, water leaks in a multi-story building.
Yeah. And I did want to say I haven't gotten to say this, but this is if there was a motto for me, something that I've said for probably the last 10 years. I know my friends know this and my coworkers know this, but scared money don't make no money. So you have to just do it. Like you're never going to get the opportunity if you don't put yourself out there in a vulnerable situation. You're never going to grow professionally, personally. You're just not going to grow if you don't take that leap. So, yeah.
Yeah, and again, for the younger guys listening, the more experienced people understand, and they may be upset initially with a bad call or a mistake, um, but the experienced guys do understand that needs to happen. It's better to make a call and get that experience, and it all just comes down to what do you take away from that mistake or that bad call. You have to take something away, or else it has no value.
I agree.
Last person that responded to this question of what's one thing about the construction industry that needs to change, Ryan, who is a framing foreman, um, he kind of followed up the question with a question: what's the biggest waste of time on a construction site that nobody talks about? And he put a list of examples in his question. Waiting on other trades, looking for materials, poor communication, rework, meetings that accomplish nothing.
If I had to pick, out of those examples, I would say I agree with you, Ryan, for poor communication and meetings that accomplish nothing. Um, that's just my take. I think there's a lot of those kind of go hand in hand. I don't think people really fully think through things sometimes.
I disagree with your
Sure.
choices there, Cody.
Yeah.
I think hands down the biggest waste of time has to be rework,
Sure.
which I think the rest of these kind of lead to
Yeah.
in a way. You know, you were getting that poor communication, poor planning, um, you know, meetings just to have a meeting, you know, it all I think it all leads to rework, which you know, something gets missed, something gets messed up, something doesn't get fully thought through, or planned for, and yeah, you're standing there, you're ripping drywall down, you're chipping down concrete. I mean, those are job killers,
I
in my
mean,
opinion.
yeah, I agree. Rework as a whole, but I do think that goes hand in hand with communication, just poor communication.
Yeah, I agree.
Rework is the costly, more visible waste of time, I would say. But I think it all stems back to communication because so many people get tunnel vision and they forget to do something, or they forget to install something, or they forget to QC something, and then that leads into rework, which, yeah,
there's nothing worse than rework.
no,
It's horrible.
it's horrible. Do you have a story, or do you have a example of rework that resonates with you?
Hmm.
It could be something that you've heard, not that's happened to you.
I mean, the water leaks. It all goes back to the water leaks, right?
Yeah.
It's probably the worst rework.
Yeah.
When you
Agreed.
got to tear down. I mean, I can. Yeah. Is there anything that jumps out to you?
Just a trigger word. I mean, going back to people being afraid to own their shit and putting up Hollywood fronts. I've heard stories of people trying to go super fast, being afraid to have those hard conversations, and then in the 11th hour, their sins or their skeletons in their closet start to come out. You know, I can't think of one particular thing, but every person that's been in the industry knows someone or has heard of a story of someone just forgetting critical things. And it's easy to just say, I'd never do that. I'd never do that. But it's kind of a lie when people say that. You know, you can get caught up, and that's just a little bit of people's pride getting in the way, because it truly could happen to anybody. The magnitude could be different. The scale could be not as large, but if you're not slowing down, taking a breath, and you don't have the ability to bounce things off of other people, whether it be a subcontractor or a teammate or a colleague, you very well could be in a very, very bad spot, you know? So rework is a killer. I do agree with that statement. And I do agree that communication needs to be better. People need to be more open to have the conversations.
Yeah, and just to dive into rework a little bit, for those of you that don't know, yeah, I mean, you'd think it would just be twice as much time, right, to redo something. You're just doing the same thing over, but no, it's usually 3, 4, 5 times as much time going into the same thing. So if I've got a, you know, 50-foot corridor that's been drywalled, but we forgot to run the fire alarm, for example, you know, you got to tear down the drywall, which takes time. You got to run the fire alarm, which, you know, is extra time. You got to reinstall everything, but you're also trying to do this while you're working on the rest of the building because you don't want the whole building to fall behind. So it usually goes from a rough in through drywall of 3 weeks. I mean, this could easily turn into over 2 months that you're working on this one stretch of corridor because you forgot one thing, 10 devices and a couple runs of wire. It can just escalate very quickly. So it's always better to take that extra day if you don't feel super comfortable. And sometimes it's just a gut feeling when you're walking through and you're like, man, something just feels like it's missing in here. Just take the extra day, take some time and really sit down and run through your checklist, right? Of everything that you have. Bring someone else in there. Get an extra set of eyes on something. Um, can always help too.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's just a lot to catch in every build. Um,
That's great advice. Having someone just come through with an extra set of eyes, fresh eyes, because you're looking at the same thing.
yeah, with no agenda, just say, hey, you want to come take a look at this?
Mhm.
We're getting ready to cover it up. Just want to make sure that we got everything. Something feels like it might be missing to me.
Yeah.
Simple as that. 5 minutes. Bring a guy up there. Yeah, dude, where's your fire alarm at? Or whatever it may be.
Right. No, that's great advice. Just slowing down and finding time in the day to be able to do stuff like that and then make sure you're not just reacting for everything. Um, I was going to share a story without diving too deep, but a little bit of poor communication and rework. I've got a story, a recent story. We've got a section of roofing and we've got some curbs for some residential condenser units. And then we also have some future curbs. One person, being me, heard we'll do it later. It's not a big deal. Um, at a later date, turns out we're going to do everything on the plans, like contradicting things, information. If we're doing everything on the plans, we need to do these future curbs then. So we go off on this journey of doing 9 curbs on a section of a building that is are making the big push to be able to finish all MEPs, get the drywall started. The roof is already on. The area is dried in, essentially. And I don't know, I can't remember at this point, but I think we were a week, maybe 2 weeks out from drywalling. And we set off on a journey to do these curbs. The original duration in that area, if we would have got all these curbs, would have been the same week and a half to get the residential curbs as well as the future curbs, because it would have happened all in one foul swoop. The production crews would have been able to hit everything at the same time. So that duration would have been a week and a half, maybe 2, just because it was a little bit more work. In my head, building out this schedule, I thought we could do the 9 curbs with weather, factoring it in, being fairly conservative. I thought we could do it in a little bit over a month. It took 3.5 months to get those 9 curbs done. It's twofold, right? There's a few things that happened there. Poor communication on my end, rework that bit me in the ass, and
Weather.
yeah, there was weather. There's just so many unforeseens. You're opening a can of worms by kicking the can down the road. If you can, and if it takes just a little bit of time, it's in your best interest to try to get it done. And that's just a more recent, valuable lesson that felt like a waste of time, but it was something that needed to be done. And it did waste everybody's time. It truly did. But it's done. It's behind everybody. But I guess the moral of the story is make sure you're communicating clearly, and it should help. It's not going to alleviate everything, but it should help minimize the rework, because that sucked for all 4 parties that were involved in that. So shout out to you guys that did it. Appreciate it. Thanks for getting it done.
Looking for materials. I can't specifically relate to this one, but I can talk to it because we have guys that can waste half a day looking for the stuff they need or going to purchase it or whatever. It comes down to planning, right? And for anyone, who's relying on a manager to provide these materials, um, like don't be afraid to, get on them and be very clear, like, hey man, we're not going to be able to start this. I'm going to waste half the day or a whole day waiting for materials before I can get going. Doesn't need to be emotional, doesn't need to be personal. It's just communication, right? And then, it's organization too, right? Some of these sites get very big. There's lots of stuff. Just, you know, you got to be organized. You got to be able to communicate well. Those are, probably the top two things for almost every issue that we ever run across in the GC world is poor communication, disorganization will kill you.
I agree. That kind of goes back to why does everyone point fingers? That's a perfect scenario. Well, I had so and so lined out to do this, and I don't know why he just didn't get it done. You got that person. It is in your best interest to manage up and set the expectation. If I don't have whatever it is, if I don't have X, Y, and Z by this morning, I'm not going to be able to finish unless I stay late or whatever. You just have to manage up, set those expectations like they're setting expectations to you. And to the point that Nick just made, doesn't need to be emotional, doesn't need to be over dramatized. It's just a transaction, it's business. You don't have what you need to be successful. They're the person in front of you to get what could make you successful. They need to have it there for you. They need to be prepared. Again, Nick said you need to have a plan. You need to be prepared. And it's like a well-oiled machine. If you're prepared, you'll have the stuff. Your guys will get the stuff done, and on to the next one, on to the next thing.
What's the best way to communicate, in your opinion, Cody? Between GC subcontractors, between GC team members, between subcontractor to subcontractor, and then internal subcontractor, the tradesmen out on site.
Unfortunately, I'm going to say something that I've been against for a very long time. I wish you could just have a conversation, and in some cases you can. Some things are small enough, but the reality is the fast-paced industry of construction, we're just going way too fast. People are human, they forget, or maybe someone has a way better memory. I personally don't. So something that I think everyone should do is carry a notebook, or they should follow up with a list through some sort of something, an email, a text message, something. You need to be able to document what's said so that you can go back and say, why isn't this done? Or, oh, you responded. I held you up because I forgot to do something, So I think the best way to communicate, to answer your question, is through lists and just following up on those lists. It could be a piece of paper that you guys all write on, or it can be an email that everyone's on, or that's basically it, in my opinion.
What's your favorite form of notebook?
Favorite form of notebook?
This is a specific Cody question because I know what the answer is.
Love me a cardboard piece. And if I'm feeling real crazy, a 2x4.
Yep.
Anything I can get my hands on, I'm going to write a list. If I get past 3 things, I usually have to write it down. If you see me on site and I have a piece of cardboard, it means business.
Yeah, I mean, for me personally, communication wise, just so many things get said, so many phone calls, so many. I personally hate text messaging because it's so easy to, there's there at least with an email, it's in my inbox, it's sitting right there, so I scroll past it every day, like, oh shit, I gotta get on that. A text message, I'll get a bunch of texts from the same guy, and it's, by the time the end of the day or the next day comes around, I'll get another text and the previous ones are gone. I who scrolls back in their text messages?
Yeah.
Like nobody. Um
Unless you're trying to find something.
yeah, unless you know what you're looking for, but
Yeah.
it can just get overwhelming is what I'm getting at. Um Clear, concise communication is huge.
Yep.
If you can say way too much and just complicate a situation beyond anyone being able to follow what's going on. So say less, that's my advice to people is say less. Make sure what you're saying um is relevant, right?
Yeah.
Like
Accurate.
you don't need all this fluff, and you don't need to. There's some guys that will just go down 10 different rabbit holes while you're talking about one thing, and by the end of the conversation, you're like, "What was the problem? What was the original thing we were talking about?" And it's very common. It's very common. So that's my advice to people: clear, concise. If you can send something in an email, and I I talk shit about emails all the time because it's so easy to fire something off and just, wash your hands of it. "Oh, no, I sent an email," you know? But at the same time, it's the same thing. Clear, concise, and important. If it's something important, it will be noticed, it will be addressed.
Mm.
But if you're just firing off every little thing, it just kinda gets washed away, in the sea of emails. How many emails do you get a day, Cody?
A lot. I'm looking right now.
Yeah, I mean, hundreds a day is pretty much the norm
Hmm.
for any manager in this industry.
I've got 94 right now.
So, yeah,
I quit at probably 1.
I don't even know how I see that on my thing.
I quit it. I had 50 this morning, and then I thought I got through them, but here we are, 94.
Yeah, and, the crazy part is that's everyone. That's
Mhm.
everyone in the industry, that's every subcontractor, any manager is just getting bombarded with information constantly. So, if you wanna stand out, clear, concise, and not like, don't abuse it, right?
Yeah, there's a way to use the tool. There's a way to use the tool.
It goes for it's up and down, Managers talking to your, people working for you or under you, it's the same thing. Clear, concise, don't over communicate. Over
Mhm.
communicating is just as bad as under communicating. You
Yeah,
you gotta find the sweet spot.
I agree. Yeah. No, and it could be daunting, like emails, this, that, and the other, but you just I mean, you said it. Don't over abuse the tool. It can definitely be used in your favor, and it could be beneficial.
Meetings that accomplish nothing. Just stop. Just stop.
Just yeah. I don't know. I mean, it's clear, concise. Make it make sense.
Yeah.
Can it be solved over a quick phone call, quick site walk, or does it truly need to be?
I feel like there's this, people feel like they have to talk. Does that make sense?
Mhm.
It's okay to say, "No, we're all good. I got it covered," or "I'll talk to, you know, so and so
Yeah,
later." It's just something small. it I have a lot of respect for someone that does that.
A lot of
And
people do that. They feel like they need to solve everything right now. And that's where rework happens
yeah.
because you're just fucking rushing. You're just going and going and going, and you don't.
Yeah, it's okay to table something. It's okay to, you know, not say much during a meeting. If you ramble in a meeting and know that no one wants to be in the first place, everyone's busy. Everyone's got stuff to do. You know, sitting in a meeting with someone rambling for 20 minutes is like, it feels like 20 years. You're just like, holy shit, get me out of here. Um, and then it causes resentment, you know, just, yeah, pointless meetings are horrible.
Yeah, agreed. Sometimes they have to be done, but yeah,
Well, it's also sometimes you don't see the point too,
sure.
right? Um, you can always ask that too.
What's the point?
What's the point? What's the goal of this meeting? What are
Mhm.
we trying to accomplish here?
Yeah,
You know, if it starts going to a place where you're just like, what the hell are we doing? Ask the question. What are we trying to accomplish? What's the point of this meeting?
yeah. And don't be afraid to pipe up. Moving on to our second question that we asked the Ruction Nation community. I said, want our opinion on something in the trades. So we just wanted to open it up.
What does that mean?
We wanted to open it up and see if anyone had or wanted to ask us a specific question to the trades, is what that means.
Hmm. I'm following.
Do you have a question for Nick or Cody? Basically.
So Luis reached out. Luis or Lewis?
Luis.
Luis, who's a concrete finisher, asked, "Do you think the next generation actually wants to work in the trades, or are we doing a poor job of selling construction as a career?"
I don't think we're doing a poor job of selling construction as a career. We're definitely in a pretty monumental shift, in my opinion, just with the AI boom, social media, and all the content creators that are really pushing blue collar. It's definitely starting to be a trendy thing. So I don't think we're doing a poor job selling construction. The money's there, the opportunity's there, the ability to grow is there. There's not a lack of work throughout everywhere, throughout the entire world. But does the next generation actually want to work in the trades? I don't know. I don't think as an industry we're not giving enough, or I don't think the school system is giving enough resources to kids, which is one of the biggest elements and the biggest reasons why we started this podcast is to create awareness and to give a platform for people to talk about what they do, and in turn, hopefully spark some interest in some young people. But it's hard. Like it's not very glamorous all the time. It takes a minute to understand it. It takes a minute to learn it. It does take a certain type of person to want to be in the trades. So
Yeah, you know what's fascinating to me is if you go back and you listen to all 29 of our previous podcasts, we always, I think 90% of the time we ask the guest, you know, if you could go back, would you change anything? And I think every time we've asked that question, the answer's been no.
Mhm. Yeah.
I can't think of one time where someone's like, yeah, I'd go, you know, I'd go this route instead of what I did. That's fascinating to me, and it's hard to sell, right?
It is hard to sell.
It's not glamorous. It's hard. Um, I think what draws most people in is the money.
Mhm.
Um,
I mean,
but
in those 29 episodes, we've had high school dropouts all the way to people who have graduated college, and every bit in between of there, every in between of all of that, different stopping points for education. And like Nick said, not one person would have changed what they did. So
yeah, it I think most people that get into a trade really, really do enjoy it. Um, I don't know how you can sell that to someone though. You know what I mean?
yeah, you just don't know it.
Especially a younger person.
You don't. You just don't know what it's like. Like you see it from the outside, and you're like, I don't know, you know. But there's instant gratification. There's
Who should be selling that?
It's a good question. That's a very good question. Is it the companies because they need people?
Yeah, I don't know.
I mean, we talk about it, right? There's a labor shortage. Everyone talks about it. I don't know what the statistics are now. I don't know if anything has changed since when we first started last year. Um, but the work's not going anywhere, but we don't have enough people to cover the work.
It's also a huge opportunity. You know, there's
Mhm.
just so much upward, mobility within the industry. Like you're going to start if you if you start at the bottom of the totem pole, like you're going to be pushing a broom, you're going to be picking up trash, you're going to be doing very 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 you know not glamorous things, but you can move up quick and you can move up really, really high. A few of the guys that we've had on started as a laborer, pushing a broom,
Mhm.
digging holes, whatever it may be. Bless you.
Sorry.
All, all the way, and they've moved all the way up to, you know, VP roles
Right.
or ownership roles. There's just so much mobility, and then there's so much side to side mobility. You can always jump to a different trade. You can go into the office. Oh,
But
my screen locked.
oh,
You can go into the office. You can go into sales. I mean, there's so many options. It's such a big industry that stretches out so far. So, yeah, if you become a laborer for a you know excavation company,
mhm.
like, that's not where it ends. It's you're gonna be you're gonna have all these opportunities, and like we always say, and a lot of the guys that we've had on say, you got to be patient. You got to be really patient for those opportunities. Go in day one, take pride in your work, be humble, listen, learn, um, make mistakes, learn from those mistakes, work hard. Work Put in the hours, when especially when you're young, because that goes away
Mhm.
when life happens. Um, Put in the hours, good things will happen, I guarantee it. Yeah, one thing my dad always told me when I was growing up, when I started working, I should say, is your bosses are watching. They see. They see what's going on. So, if you're working hard, like, you don't need to make a big scene. They will see you working hard. They will see you showing up on time. They will see you, you know, um, leading a crew. Yeah, I worked in restaurants when I was growing up in high school and college, and I always kinda kept that in the back of my head, like, these guys are watching. They see what's going on here, and it does lead I've always gone from the bottom guy to the top guy, even at a restaurant, you know? Start as a dishwasher and I move up to the manager or whatever. Um, I didn't really ever ask for promotions either, ever. And a lot of the guys that we've had on say that too. Like I've never asked to move up. It just kind of happened. It's very apparent if you are giving your best effort and you're reliable and people can trust you. Um, yeah, good things will happen. There's a lot of room to grow. Is what I'm getting at.
Yeah.
So as far as selling it, yeah, it's just it's a tough one to sell because it's just so big.
Yeah.
It's hard to understand too. Like I have a hard time explaining it to my wife sometimes. It's like, well, how did that happen? It's like, well, this guy didn't send this on time, and these guys they sent their crew away, and then it led to yeah, we're just a month behind. So it's like it's hard to explain. It's very complex and there's a lot of moving parts and pieces and a lot of people involved.
Yeah.
I've said this many times, but blows my mind how many man hours go into every little thing in a building, from ownership to investors to designers, engineers, suppliers, tradesmen, managers, laborers, all the way up and down the line.
Did we quantify that? I think at one point, 1,000 people touch a
Oh,
job.
I don't know. That'd be interesting. Touch a job.
Yeah. From land acquisition to turnover.
Yeah, that would be interesting to do. Like, you know, a big multifamily job, do like a commercial TI build out.
Yeah.
Kind of gauge it across the board.
It'd be cool. It'd be cool to see those numbers.
To do a stadium, could you imagine?
Yeah. That'd be thousands of people. Thousands of people.
Yeah.
Hopefully that answers your question, Luis. We had another person comment or respond to the question or to ask Nick and I what our opinion is for something in the trades. Sarah, a project engineer, said or asked if every project had one rule that everyone had to follow, what would it be?
My mind immediately goes to safety. That's the number one worst thing that can happen on a job site. So the one rule would be safety first. As cliche and as obvious as that sounds, but yeah, for anyone that's ever been on a job site where someone gets hurt or dies, God forbid, it's horrible. That someone everyone knows, works with, and it just happens so quickly, unexpectedly, and that person's whole life changes. That family's whole life changes. Um, yeah, no building, no construction project is ever worth someone getting hurt or killed.
I mean, it's everybody's, I don't want to say responsibility, but everyone is entitled to stop if they see something that's unsafe or if they feel unsafe. Um, I agree. There should be no skimping on safety. That needs to be the one rule. Getting everybody home. As a manager, it is your responsibility to make sure each person goes back home.
Gets home whole.
Yep, with all your pieces. So, safety, I agree. Thank you for the question. Brandon, a carpenter, submitted on this same question. What's one habit you've seen from the best superintendents or foremen that separates them from everyone else?
I've got two. Um, One has already been mentioned. Taking notes. A really good note taker, someone that writes down a checklist and stays organized. That's a big one. I've got 3 actually. So, yeah, taking notes. The second one would be following up conversations with an email, documenting. Like we mentioned earlier, people just forget things. There's too much going on. Um, you know, if you have an important conversation, document it. Whether it's writing it down, sending out a summary, or putting it in a daily report. It's just really easy to forget things on big projects, especially when there's a million moving pieces at one time. And then lastly, I would say slow down would be probably my biggest one habit that I've seen from the best superintendents is slow down. Problem arises, don't react. Take a minute. Take a day. I can't tell you how many times I've seen a knee-jerk reaction to a problem that just turns into a month-long issue. If you take a week to come up with a solution that doesn't lead to a month-long delay or just a month-long ordeal, it's well worth it. Take the week. Slow down. Not every question needs to be answered immediately. Um, I've also been given the advice of not answering every single phone call, not running to every single problem immediately. Um, I think that's a good piece of advice for a superintendent or a foreman. You know, if someone's responsible for doing a job on site, let them let them figure some stuff out too. You don't have to solve everything. It's impossible for you to solve everything. Um, so yeah, you don't need to pick up the phone every time it rings. You don't need to run out the door every time someone pops into your office with a issue or question. You can table it. And in fact, that makes that person better too, because they're not just immediately running to the superintendent or the foreman with a problem. You know, if you say, "Hey, I'm busy. Let's talk about it this afternoon." 90% of the time, I'll say 75% of the time, it's usually figured out by the afternoon, you know? Um, and 90%, they're going to have more information. They're going to have something figured out. Um, so yeah, if you run to every problem, if you take every phone call, you're just going to burn yourself out and you are going to just bury yourself in uh, in everything. So
Yeah, I agree. I mean, burnout's a real thing in this industry. Um, and it just doesn't stop. So you need to make sure that you have enough time to be selfish with your time. You, you're not going to be your best self if you're just firing on all cylinders all the time. So I agree with that advice, or I agree with the habits that Nick just mentioned. For, I guess it was 2 things. It was habits and then also a piece of advice. Not answering the phone and extending yourself is exceptional advice, in my opinion. And then, like, yeah, just following up on notes is is a is a trait that everybody needs to have. Um, hopefully that answers your question, Brandon. Last question that we rolled out yesterday. What's one lesson you've learned from listening to Ruction Nation? We got 2 responses for this question.
Kevin, concrete carpenter, answered the question with a question. If a 20-year-old asked you today whether they should go to college or into the trades, what would you tell them?
Kevin, did you mean for this to be a question? We've gotten a lot of questions with questions.
I think, yeah. I'm trying to connect the two.
Hopefully you've learned from Ruction Nation that you should go into the trades.
You should at least try it, I think is the more important thing. We've said this over and over again. Our guests have said this over and over again. If you have any inkling that you might like something or that you want to learn about something, go try it for a summer. You know, if you're going to school, go get a summer like all these companies are constantly hiring for grunts, you know, the lowest position, but at least you can get out there and check it out and be like, "Holy shit, these guys are actually kind of cool. Oh my god, that guy's really smart. I'd like to do that. I'd like to be that guy someday." Exposure is step 1. Um,
On the flip side of that too, if you don't like it, you tried it for a summer and then you go to school, but you know in that back pocket and you know deep down because you tried it, it's just not for you. And that's okay. But at least you tried it.
yeah, one thing I've learned over the years is you have time in your 20s to try stuff,
Mhm.
to make some mistakes, if you want to call it that. It's really not a mistake in the big picture, but um, you should try different things. There's not one path. There's not one route that's going to make you successful and feel accomplished. So give it a shot. Um, we've got a guy on our crew who was what 19 when he
Mhm.
jumped on.
Yep.
This was last summer. Didn't know a thing. Um, I I interviewed him and I was like, what's your experience or why are you interested?" And I think he like painted a fence or something. Um, and he's like, "Yeah, I'm interested." But oh my gosh, the guy has just grown so much on our site. It's been really really cool to see. And you talk to him, and he's like, "I think I want to be an architect." You're like, "That's really cool, man." You have to go to school to be an architect, but you figured that out by being on the job site and seeing this really big, cool job going up. And um, just hearing the chatter of the job site, whether it's our team talking about, you know, designs, drawings, getting opinions from ownership, from the architects, from the engineers constantly, or here in the trades talking about issues or um, solutions, more importantly, on the job site. And yeah, just figuring out a path forward. You gotta get some exposure. Because I'll tell you what, I went to school. I've said this several times. I went to school for civil engineering. Went to school for 5 years, and man, we didn't really learn that much real world stuff in school. If I'm being honest, I learned how to do a lot of hard math, which I probably can't do anymore.
You're pretty good with the numbers still though.
Yeah, but it's not like I'm not doing like calculus or anything
Sure.
ever.
Yeah.
um,
Yeah.
But I do wish I got a little bit more exposure. The best part of my college experience was my internship. I worked for a subcontractor doing retaining walls, and I was in the estimating department of that company. And man, I learned so much over the course of 1 year. Uh, so I worked there full time over the summer between my junior and senior year, or my fourth and fifth year, and then I worked part time the whole school year too. I went in a couple times a week,
It's cool.
and it was like a breath of fresh air going to my internship job as opposed to school. I had a break in school for, you know, Tuesdays and Thursdays, and I'd go in for half a day. And I was excited to go just because it was fun. I was learning a lot. Um, you're working with professionals. You're not There's a difference between working with professionals that do this every day and working with professors who teach you what it should be like in a perfect world. There's a big difference.
Sure.
So, yeah, just to get back, I'd say don't rule out anything and give it a shot. If you're interested, give it a shot. Um, and just because you push a broom day one doesn't mean 5, 10 years down the road you're not going to be in a higher role that you could be at by going to school anyways. So
You have to be a sponge. You have to be open minded, and don't be too prideful to miss out on things. There's like I didn't say that right. Don't be so prideful that you end up missing out on things. Um, Joey actually put this into great perspective. Um, go out there and ask if you're supposed to clean whatever it is for that day. Clean that section, and if you have some extra time, go up to somebody and ask them a question. See if they'll show you, if they'll spend some time. I would say 90% of those guys will take you under their wing. They'll want to show you. They'll get that little spark back that they used to have to be able to teach somebody. Um, if it's not there or they tell you no, don't get discouraged. Ask the next person. Someone will find time to teach you. Maybe it's not right then and there, but we need people who are wanting and willing to join the industry. So,
and just to follow up, just if there are any high schoolers out there listening, college debt is brutal. I didn't go super far into debt, but I'm still paying off my loans from 11 years ago,
Mm.
which is crazy. So just really think about it. In my opinion, it's kind of criminal what we're doing to young people with the college debt. You don't really understand how that's going to affect you years and years and even decades down the road. So we've mentioned it several times. Some of the guys we've had on have mentioned it as well. You can get your higher education paid for by these companies.
Mm.
Um, your classes to become certified electrician, plumber, all that stuff. These companies will pay for it. You can come out debt free, and college is not off the table. Like, you can always go. There's not an age limit on going to college.
yeah,
Um, so really think about it. It's it definitely destroys people. I've seen it destroy people, that college debt.
it's heartbreaking. Yeah.
And lastly, to one lesson that someone's learned from listening to Ruction Nation, Nick, framing superintendent. We've already read this. Don't make the same mistakes twice, and you'll go far in this world. I think that's great advice. Yeah, I've Nick's a super smart guy. Check out his episode. He's actually our framing superintendent on our job site we currently have. I would say, yeah, it's great advice. Um, Sometimes you do make the same mistake twice, though.
Mm.
It's not the end of the world. Eventually, you just got to learn from it, right? Learn from it, try to correct it, try not to make the mistake again. Um, so I agree with that statement.
Yeah, like Nick said, Nick Rams. I want to say he was probably the 5th episode. I don't know if that's 100% accurate, but phenomenal information from that individual. And
Episode 5.
episode 5, right on the money. Great value from that gentleman, and I think a great piece of advice to end on. So, like Nick just read, don't make the same mistake twice, and you'll go far in this world.
What's one lesson that you've learned from listening to Ruction Nation, Cody?
One lesson that I've learned. Yeah, I've learned a ton. I have genuinely enjoyed every single episode, and I've learned something from each person that we've been fortunate enough to have on the episode. One thing that I've learned from listening to Ruction Nation would be how bad we needed this podcast. And I'll toot our horn a little bit. The community of just our little community has really rallied around Ruction Nation. We're seeing some really cool interaction. I mean, this is just a testament to our listeners and just kind of the caliber of people that we have listening to Ruction Nation. So I'd say the coolest thing and the one thing that I've learned is just the blue collar and the construction industry truly needed a community and needs Ruction Nation. There's been a lot of value and there's been a lot of cool success stories or things that people have learned from other people's episodes. So thank you to everyone. And I do genuinely appreciate all the value that you guys are giving everybody that's been listening. So that's what I've learned. What about you, Nick? What have you learned?
Mine's similar. I've learned that people not only need to talk about the stuff that we're bringing up on this podcast, but they need and they want to talk about all this stuff. So don't be afraid to talk to people on site. People are more than happy to share, and it's almost good for both it's good for both parties. Someone gets to learn a little something about either what they do or what they have going on site, and then also, that person just needs to talk about it. Cody's mentioned this before, but it's you go home at the end of the day, you're exhausted. Your family asks you how the day went, and I mean, I think you've said it. You just say fine, and just kind of hold it in. It's because they don't understand. You'd have to talk about so much to bring them up to speed. Don't be afraid to talk to people on site. People need to talk. People need to build relationships. That's one thing with a team too, is you should enjoy going in and working around these people. For the most part, everyone's friendly, everyone's interesting, everyone's got interesting hobbies outside of work. It's fascinating how different everyone is. And I mean, we got guys that are building homemade campers that we've had on this podcast. We've got avid golfers, fishermen, hunters, family, family husbands and family men and women. Yeah, we got people that, just all kinds of different backgrounds. It's fascinating where people come from, their stories on how they got to where they're at today. So that's what I've learned the most is people need to talk about this stuff and people want to talk about this stuff.
Yeah. Thank you guys. Appreciate it. That's all I got. You got anything else?
Nope. We'll do another Behind the Hard Hat in 10 episodes, episode 40. So we're going to have some good guests here over the next, I guess that'll be 3 months ish.
Yeah, it'll close it. We'll close out the year.
No, not quite.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, thank you guys for your time. And I hope you guys have some takeaways. Please feel free to comment if you want to keep the conversation going. We'd love to see it. And if you want to submit any questions or thoughts, comments, concerns to us, we'd be happy to see it. Thank you.
Thanks, everyone. Bye.